The pros of active is it's not really investing.
Yeah.
I've said this a lot, that that if you're an investor, like in the true sense of the definition, you should be giving other people your money, or investing into something, and sort of being an active bystander. So same sort of thing. I don't invest in shares, I invest in companies, and I invest in their probability of returning the money that I've invested. When I look at property, the same sort of thing. I'm investing in a tangible assets. I'm investing in land. I'm investing in the bricks and mortar on top of that. And if I do my research well, then I can be an investor without having to do renovation or any type of risky or active stuff, and I can just get on with my life. As opposed to an active strategy, you are sacrificing a lot more time and energy to be able to, one, accelerate that because you're looking for a better return. But I always say to people, put a dollar value on your time. So when you're doing your feasibility studies on whether you want to be an active investor or a renovator for profit, whatever, put $100 on your time and then see if the project still stacks up, because that's what you're doing. You are basically saying, all right, I'm not going to have a life outside of my investing, or my life is going to be impacted because my investment is going to take up my free time. So if you're spending a third of your life working, a third of your life sleeping, and you've got a third of your life of, say, leisure time, you're taking away a lot of that leisure time to accelerate that. So we don't begrudge those people who do that. That's terrific for them. But we're about educating people to say that, try and do this as a supplementary strategy to allow yourself to get to passive income over time.
Robert Kiyosaki 101, Ben, is risk is a measure of knowledge. So for you and I buying an investment property, we don't see that as risky at all, given our experience and the time that we've been doing it. But on the flip side, someone else who's actually never invested in property before and actually thinks buying their own home feels a bit risky, the idea of adding an investment property seems really risky. But it all comes down to knowledge. So someone's listening to this who is a property developer, Ben, who's very comfortable with feasibility studies. They have a town planners in their back pocket, or they understand town planning. They can see a house and see what you can put on it straight away. Our friend Peter Koulizos has talked to us and shown us a lot of properties in Adelaide where he's looked at it, and most people think that you can only put 2 townhouses on it, but because of what he knows, he can actually put 3 townhouses on it, which actually makes the site very cheap and makes it very, very profitable. And the idea of dealing with builders and getting the DA up to scratch and then getting the building approval done and then getting the titles issued. To some people, that is, they could do that whilst watching the footy, Ben, right? So therefore, the level of risk for them is very, very low compared to someone who's never invested in property ever before, and then want to add the complexity of all of those extra things. That is incredibly risky.
Yeah.
So that's my answer to Adam with this question here, is because there's no doubt that people who have the ability, Ben, I've seen it, we both know people who have the ability to go and buy the worst house in the best street, and because of their experience, their knowledge, their connections, their contacts, they know how to turn it apples into apple pie very cheaply, very efficiently, and to get the maximum value return on the dollar they've spent. To them, it's a no-brainer to do it, and you talked about putting a value on their time. For them, it's done very, very quickly, and the same with the property development. But the point that you're trying to make is, for most people, they do not have that level of knowledge that allows that risk gauge to be dropped to a sufficient level. That means that money that you said, Ben, that hourly rate at $100, if you're learning some of this stuff for the first time, $100 an hour is probably not enough. You've probably got to ramp it up. And then the mistake that you make, and then all those sorts of things that compound. So there's a difference here between, is it an effective way to retire out the debt versus is it a suggested way to retire out the debt? Because I think that's what it really comes down to, because we got plenty of people who come onto this podcast, Ben, who have smashed it, and future guests who've come on who will tell us how they've smashed it through being an active investor. But it's really about